Well, hey there, CEOs. Welcome back to the Early Childhood Business Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Peak. So glad that you are here joining us today. As you know, I love to help early childhood business owners clear the overwhelm and find more of that time, freedom, and profit. Now, today, let's be honest. Your to-do list probably has 47 things on it. Am I right? You have enrollment calls, team schedules, supply orders, parent emails, social media posts, licensing paperwork, facility maintenance, curriculum planning. And I'm guessing that list, it keeps growing faster than you can check things off. And here's the most frustrating part. You may be working hard, staying late, coming in early, sacrificing weekends. But when you look at your profit statement, nothing's improved. Your enrollment percentage is the same as it was 6 months ago. Maybe your profit margin hasn't budged and you're more exhausted than ever because you keep telling yourself, if I can just get through this week, I'll finally have time to work on the big stuff. Except all of that big stuff, the strategic work that would actually grow your business, it never happens because you're too busy putting out fires and checking off an endless list of urgent tasks. Now, if that feels painfully familiar, take a deep breath. As you know, I'm here with you. You are not alone. There are so many others like you that are drowning in a to-do list that seems to regenerate faster than it can get completed. Your to-do list isn't helping you build a better business. It's keeping you trapped in reactive mode where you are constantly busy but never actually moving forward. You're working incredibly hard on tasks that feel important but don't actually impact your bottom line. Your enrollment numbers and your capacity, that is what's being strategic. You need to lead those strategically. Most productivity advice tells you to prioritize your tasks, batch your time, use better tools to manage your workload. But here's what I've learned in my 25 plus years of operating preschools, play cafes, childcare centers, and enrichment programs. That advice works great for people with flexible jobs where every task carries equal weight, but it falls completely flat in early childhood businesses where 80% of the items on our to-do list are just keeping the doors open and only 20% are actually building the business. The early childhood business owners and operators with the highest profit margins and the most time freedom aren't the ones who've mastered productivity hacks or figured out how to do more faster. They're the ones who've identified the 3 to 5 CEO level priorities that will move their business forward in the next 90 days and ruthlessly eliminated everything else or delegated everything else that doesn't support those goals. You don't have to keep drowning in a never-ending to-do list to build a thriving business. You need strategic clarity about which activities actually generate profit and which ones just generate activity. When you create your 90-day CEO action plan designed specifically for early childhood businesses, you stop reacting to whatever feels urgent and you start focusing on what actually matters. And that's exactly what we're covering today. The 3 CEO strategies that will help you identify your highest impact priorities and eliminate the rest. So number 1, I want you to conduct your quarterly business audit so you know exactly where your business stands right now and which areas need your CEO attention most urgently. Number 2, how to identify your 3 to 5 strategic CEO priorities for the next 90 days that will actually move the needle on enrollment, profit, or maybe time freedom, whatever's most important to you right now, and let everything else go. And number 3, how to build that 90-day CEO action plan that tracks progress on what matters and gives you permission to say no to everything else that's just noise. Now, if you're ready to stop drowning in busy work and start focusing on that strategic priority, the ones that are going to actually build your business, then let's get started. Now, your to-do list is lying to you. The moment you identify the 3 to 5 strategic priorities that will actually move your business forward in the next 90 days and eliminate everything else that's just keeping you busy, you stop confusing motion with progress and you start building the profitable time-free freedom business that you've envisioned. This is what separates those overwhelmed directors drowning in endless tasks from confident early childhood CEOs who lead with strategic and focus. You're not overwhelmed because you have too much to do. You're overwhelmed because you haven't decided what not to do. Most productivity experts will tell you to organize your tasks better, batch your time more efficiently, and delegate more effectively. But here's what they don't understand about early childhood businesses. You're not just managing tasks. You're managing ratio-dependent operations where 90% of your time is consumed by regulatory requirements, daily operations, and keeping kiddos safe. The real problem isn't that you need better time management skills. The real problem is that you're trying to fit strategic CEO work into the gaps between operational demands instead of protecting time for the work that's going to actually grow your business. Not all tasks are created equal, and doing 47 things okay is infinitely less valuable than doing 3 things exceptionally well. Confident early childhood operators, well, they understand that saying no to good opportunities is how you protect capacity for great ones. Here's a powerful insight about business productivity. According to research from business strategist Greg McKeown, the author of Essentialism, only about 10% of the efforts we make in business contribute to 90% of our results. Wow. But most business owners spend equal time and energy across all of their activities without ever measuring which ones actually drive outcomes. Now, again, this research isn't specific to early childhood businesses, but here's why it matters even more in our industry. When your time is already consumed by operational demands that you cannot eliminate, I'm talking ratios, licensing requirements, daily routines, things just unique to working with kids, you have even less discretionary time available for strategic work. A study from the McCormick Center for Early Childhood Leadership found that directors of high-performing early childhood programs spend an average of just 6 to 8 hours per week on strategic planning and business development. But those few hours had more impact on enrollment growth and profit margins and team culture and retention than the remaining 40-plus hours spent on daily operations. CEOs who understand this don't try to do more. They protect those critical 6 to 8 hours every week for the highest leverage activities and let everything else fall to a lower priority, get eliminated, get delegated, but they don't do those. A child care center director in Florida, she worked with us last year and she came to us completely overwhelmed and burned out. She was working 60 plus hour weeks. She had a to-do list with 50 plus items on it at any given time. And she felt like she was constantly behind despite never stopping. She was operating in pure reactive mode, responding to parent emails the moment they came in, jumping to fix every team concern immediately, posting on social media whenever she had a free moment, and trying to work on strategic stuff at 9 p.m. when she was already mentally exhausted. She couldn't figure out why her enrollment had been stuck at 78% capacity for years, despite all the effort she was putting in. Everything shifted when she stopped trying to do everything and started using the 90-day CEO action plan to identify her true strategic priorities. She conducted her quarterly business audit and she discovered that her biggest business challenge wasn't marketing. It wasn't team retention like she thought. It was her inquiry to enrollment conversion rate, which sat at 32%. So families were finding her and scheduling tours, but only 1 in 3 were actually enrolling. And that breakthrough came when she realized the limiting belief that was holding her back. I have to respond to everything immediately. Well, that wasn't serving her. It was just keeping her trapped in reactive mode. She identified 3 strategic priorities on her next 90-day audit. She redesigned her tour experience. She created a follow-up nurture sequence for families who toured but didn't enroll. And she raised her prices by 8% to improve her profit margins. She eliminated or delegated many of the items on her to-do list that weren't directly supporting these 3 goals. So again, she didn't just eliminate all her tasks. She delegated or eliminated them. She focused on the 3 things she wanted to do within that 90 days. And her inquiry to enrollment conversion, well, it jumped. Her capacity increased and her profit margin improved by 4%. Her weekly working hours dropped because she was finally not reacting to every urgent task. Instead, she started focusing on strategic work that actually moved her business forward and built her business. And today she leads her center as a confident early childhood CEO who works on her business instead of in her business. So let's talk about how she did this. Let's start with the first strategy that gave her the clarity to make it through those tough priority decisions. And that's conducting your quarterly business audit. Now, when you're operating without regular business evaluation, you make decisions about where to focus your energy based on what feels urgent, not what's actually most important. A parent complains about communication, so you spend 3 hours redesigning your newsletter. Your Instagram engagement drops, so you panic and commit to posting twice a day. A team member mentions they're stressed, so you spend an entire afternoon rearranging schedules. But here's the problem. urgency isn't the same as importance. When you're constantly reacting to whatever's loudest, you never get the strategic work done that would actually improve your business fundamentals. Strategic planning advice tells you to set annual goals and review them monthly, and that is good. But in early childhood businesses, that timeline may be too slow because things change quickly. So you need to look at it more than just annually. Your enrollment may shift, your team members leave, parent expectations evolve, licensing requirements update. We operate on a summer schedule, back to school schedule, winter schedule. Your business, it really does need those quarterly check-ins that are frequent enough to catch problems early, but spaced out enough to actually see meaningful progress. And the quarterly business audit, it gives you a structured framework for looking at your entire operations through 6 lenses that identify each area as your biggest constraint right now. Because fixing that one constraint is going to unlock more progress than trying to improve everything at once. So action step number 1, I want you to evaluate your 6 business health indicators. This is something you would do ideally once a quarter, but at least do it once or twice a year to get yourself started. I like to do them in January, April, July, and October, but this is up to you. Again, just get it started. And then as you get moving, as the motivation comes, as you see the success, and as you see how valuable it is, you will start doing them more often. Now, I want you to grab your financial statements, enrollment reports, your rosters, evaluate everything honestly on these key areas. Enrollment health. What's your current capacity percentage? What's your inquiry volume? What's your conversion rate? Financial performance. What's your profit margin? What's your revenue per child? What's your biggest expense? Team stability. What's your turnover rate? How many open positions do you have? Is your team overwhelmed or are they stable? Operational efficiency. Are your systems working smoothly or are you breaking down? What's consuming the most time? What keeps going wrong? Parent satisfaction. Are parents happy? Are they referring others? Or are you getting complaints? Are parents leaving? And finally, your CEO capacity. How many hours are you working? How much time do you have for strategic work? What's your energy level? Now, for each of these areas, rated on a simple scale. Red, this is crisis, needs immediate attention. Yellow, needs improvement, but not urgent. Or green, performing well. Now, if you're a smaller business, this might be a quick 1-page assessment you can do in 30 minutes. If you're operating a larger scale business, you might gather data from your enrollment or maybe your party software, your accounting system, your team check-in, somewhere to get your accurate numbers. Either way, the goal is creating an honest snapshot of where your business actually is right now, not where your hope is or where it was 6 months ago. Most EC business owners and operators avoid doing audits because they think they don't have time, but what they really are is afraid of what they'll find. But here's the truth. Problems don't get better by ignoring them. They get worse. And the quarterly business audit isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. And you can't fix what you can't see. And strategic clarity begins with an honest assessment. I want you to identify in action step number 2, your number 1 constraint. Once you've evaluated all 6 areas, spend 15 to 20 minutes asking yourself, if I could only fix one of these areas in the next 90 days, which one would have the biggest ripple effect on my entire business? This, my friend, is your number 1 constraint. It's the area that's holding you back. It's holding everything back. For the Florida center director, for example, that I mentioned, her constraint was that inquiry enrollment conversion. She had plenty of families scheduling tours, but they weren't converting, which meant all her marketing effort was wasted. Once she fixed that conversion problem, enrollment grew naturally without requiring more marketing spend. For smaller businesses, your constraint might be your operational efficiency. If you're spending so much time on daily tasks, you have no capacity for strategic growth, then that is going to be a problem. For a larger business, it might be team stability. Constant turnover is draining your time, your money, your energy. Whatever it is, naming your number 1 constraint gives you permission to let everything else be good enough while you focus your CEO energy where it matters most. Now, another tool that we have available to you is our Profit Pathfinder. Go take that Profit Pathfinder. It is a great tool to help you identify in these 6 key areas what you're missing and where you need the most support. Now, the key here, though, is don't try to fix all 6 areas at once. That's how you end up overwhelmed and making no meaningful progress anywhere. Strategic planning is about choosing where to focus, not trying to improve everything at once. So pick that number one constraint, commit to it for 90 days, and let the other areas operate on maintenance mode. Once you've identified your constraint through your quarterly audit, you've created this foundation for strategic focus. Now, let's talk about how to turn that constraint into clear, actionable priorities. And that's strategy number 2, identify your 3 to 5 strategic CEO priorities. Because when you're stuck in reactive mode, every task, everything you do is going to feel equally important. Everything has a deadline or maybe a person attached to it. That parent email needs a response. That supply order needs to be placed. The social media post needs to go up. You're treating all work as equal when it's not. And that's why you're constantly busy, but never making meaningful progress on your business goals. Now, I'm sure you've heard of SMART goals. We talk about them. They're wonderful. And creating action plans for each one of your SMART goals. But in early childhood businesses, that advice leads to goal overload because you're already managing 20 operational processes that cannot be ignored. The problem isn't that you don't know how to set goals. It's that you don't know how to ruthlessly eliminate good ideas that aren't the right ideas for this quarter, for this moment in time. Your strategic CEO priorities aren't just things you'd like to improve. They're specific initiatives that will directly address your number one constraint and move your business forward measurably in the next 90 days. You need a strategy that gives you a specific framework for deciding what actually qualifies as a CEO level priority versus what's just operational noise. Now, when we do our annual planning and our Shine membership and mentorship programs, we do 3 goals a year. That's it. We call them your 3 annual focus goals. That is it. We do not set a lot of goals. Now, when we look at the quarter, we map out milestones. So your action step number 1, we're going to define 3 to 5 initiatives that address your number one constraint. These are where the milestones come in. So again, we're not asking you to set a whole list of goals. We're asking you right now to focus on that one thing that's really holding you back. And then I want you to define 3 to 5 initiatives to address that. Again, if you've worked with us for a while and you know about our planning process, you have your annual Go Focus goals, and then you have your milestones to work towards them. Once you've completed that quarterly audit, look at your number one constraint, and I want you to brainstorm what 3 to 5 initiatives would make the biggest dent in solving this problem. Now, these are not vague goals like improve enrollment or be more profitable. These are specific, time-bound initiatives with clear outcomes. So for the Florida Center Director, for example, whose constraint was that inquiry to enrollment conversion, her 3 priorities became redesign the tour experience to include 5 specific touch points, create and launch a 5 email nurture sequence for families who don't enroll immediately, and implement a 48-hour follow-up protocol for every tour. So those were her 3 action steps that she took. So again, we have our big focus goal, then we have our milestones, and then under our milestones, we have our action steps. These would be equal to those specific action steps. These are not more goals we're creating. Now, if you're a small business with limited capacity, you might choose just 3 priorities so you're not spreading yourself too thin. If you're a larger business with team members who can own initiatives and you can delegate things to, you might choose 5 to 6. The key is that each priority should have a clear finish line. You'll know when it's done, and you'll be able to measure whether it worked or it didn't work. Don't pick priorities you can't control, like get 10 new enrollments. That's an outcome, not an initiative. Pick priorities you can execute, like launch referral request system that contacts 5 families per week. That's an initiative that might lead to actual enrollments. Your strategic CEO priority should feel slightly uncomfortable, like you're betting on the right things, but you're not 100% certain. If they feel easy or obvious, they're not strategic enough. If they feel impossible or overwhelming, they're probably too big and need to be broken down. You're looking for that sweet spot, challenging but achievable in 90 days with focused effort. Action step number 2, I want you to create your stop doing list. That's right, I said it, your stop doing list. Here's the part that most business CEOs skip, especially in early childhood. And it's why their strategic priorities never get executed. This is where you're going to make a list of everything you're currently doing that does not support your 3 to 5 strategic CEO priorities. This is your stop doing list, and it's more important than your to-do list. For every activity on your current plate, ask, does this directly contribute to one of my 5 priorities? If not, what happens if I stop doing it? What happens if I delegate it? What happens if I delay it for 90 days? You need to make a decision of what's most important to you in this moment. For a small program, your stop doing list might include things like posting on Instagram daily. Unless social media, again, is directly supporting that strategic priority, maybe you could have someone do it for you. Attending every network event you're invited to might be something you stop, or personally responding to every parent question within an hour. If you're a larger program, it might include sitting in on every team meeting, personally handling all enrollment tours, or micromanaging daily operations that your team should own. The goal is radical elimination of anything that is not moving the needle on your priorities, even if it's a good thing to do. Remember, you can stop doing it, but you can also delegate it or delay it. So don't think it has to be eliminated if that's something that's really holding you back. Put it on your delay list. Come back to it. And if you still feel like you need it after you haven't been doing it for a while, great. But you might find after not doing it for a while, it could just be eliminated. And it was just that fear holding you back. Now, don't confuse, I've always done this, with this is important. Just because you've been doing something for years doesn't mean it deserves a place on your calendar this quarter. Be ruthless about protecting your time and your energy for your strategic CEO priorities and let go of everything else, even if it makes you uncomfortable at first. Now, in our Preschool Business Blueprint and our Shine Mentorship Program, we walk through the complete priority setting framework. We include how to break those big initiatives. Like I said, you're going to have your weekly action steps from your milestones, from your annual focus goals, and how to track progress without adding more to your plate. These 3 to 5 strategic CEO priorities and your stop doing list is going to immediately shift you from scattered to focused. Now that you know what your priorities are and what you're eliminating, let's talk about how to track progress and stay focused for the full 90 days. And that is strategy number 3, building your 90-day CEO action plan. Now, whether you're operating without a visual tracking system, or maybe you are, maybe you rely on memory and gut feeling to know whether you're making progress, that, my friend, is probably a recipe that is not going to last long. It's either going to really be causing you constant stress because you're feeling like nothing's getting done, or maybe you're going to have misplaced confidence because you've convinced yourself you're further along than you actually are. If you start the quarter with good intentions about your strategic priorities, but by week 3, urgent operational demands have pulled you back into reactive mode and you've completely lost sight of what you committed to or focused on, that's going to hold you back. Most strategic plans fail in early childhood businesses. It's not that people don't set goals. It's that they don't set goals that they really can create action on. What they do instead is they write down these big fancy goals, they put them in a file or on some fancy paper, and they never look at them again until the quarter's over, and then they realize nothing got done. Your 90-day CEO action plan is designed to prevent that by making your priorities visible, measurable, and impossible to ignore. Unlike complex project management tools or overwhelming tracking systems, this is intentionally simple because simple systems, they're the ones that actually get used. Complex systems, they get abandoned. So action step number 1, I want you to create your visual action plan. It could be a simple 1-page document. It could be digital. It could be printed. It could be multiple pages. Whatever you'll actually look at regularly. Make sure it lists your 3 to 5 strategic CEO priorities. Put them on the left side. And then for each priority, include a specific outcome you're aiming for. 3 to 5 key milestones that mark the progress and your weekly action steps for moving it forward. These visual indicators, they are going to help you. Use like check boxes, color coding, whatever you need to show status at a glance. So if you're a small program, again, you might use a simple Google Doc, a Notion page, even a printed worksheet to keep you on your desk and that you can update and look at once a week. If you're a larger business with a team that you're hoping to help you execute some of these priorities, you might create a shared action plan in Google. You might put together a Trello board or maybe Asana. Either way, the key is making it visual and accessible, not buried in a file somewhere. For the Florida Center Director, her action plan listed her 3 priorities Remember what those were: tour, redesign, nurture sequence, and follow-up protocol, with a weekly checkbox showing where she'd completed her action steps and where she didn't, which one she needed to continue working on. And at a glance, she could see if she was on track or falling behind. Now, don't make your action plan so detailed and that updating it becomes a burden. You're not trying to track every single task. You're tracking progress on your 3 to 5 priorities. If you're updating your action plan and it takes more than 15 minutes per week, it's too complex. Simplify until it's easy enough that you'll actually do it consistently. I will tell you one thing that honestly happened. Once I stopped making my to-do list and started focusing on a few simple priorities, everything changed. My to-do list, I always had 15 to 20 things on it, and I always felt like I never got half of them done. But then I realized I was just tracking every minute thing, and they weren't things that were really pushing me forward. So I stopped. If it was a minute thing, I just did it. It didn't need to go on my list. And I'm sure you've heard that before. If you can do it within 2 minutes, do it. Don't put it on the list. Remember, these are big priorities we're talking about. Action step number 2, schedule your weekly CEO check-in. This is so important. If you are going to be a CEO, you need to act like one. And that means giving yourself time to lead like one. This is non-negotiable protected time where you review your 98-day CEO action plan. Maybe it's every Monday before your week begins, or maybe it's Friday afternoon at the end of the week. Whatever it is, whatever day works for your schedule, update your progress, plan those action steps for the following week. Make this happen. During this check-in, ask yourself 3 questions. What progress did I make on my priorities this week? What obstacles came up that slowed me down? What are my top 3 action steps for next week that will move my priorities forward? So again, if you're a small program, maybe it's just reflection in a planner and a cup of coffee. If you're a bigger business, you might include your leadership team. Whatever it is, the format doesn't matter. What matters is consistency. This weekly check-in is what's going to keep you from drifting back into that reactive mode and forgetting about what you're committed to focusing on. Please, my friend, don't skip your CEO check-in just because you didn't make much progress that week. That's exactly when you need it most. Figure out why the progress stalled and adjust your plan. The action plan isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and course correction. So some weeks you're going to make huge strides, and other weeks you'll barely move forward. The action plan is going to show you the trend over 90 days, which is far more valuable than obsessing over any single week. This 90-day CEO action plan and weekly check-in rhythm are what turn good intentions into actual results. And when you combine this with your quarterly business audit and your CEO strategic priorities, you've built a complete system for leading your business strategically instead of just reacting to whatever's loudest. So let's recap what we've just covered. You conducted your quarterly business audit to identify your number 1 constraint, the area of your business that's holding everything else back and needs your CEO focus most urgently. You identified your 3 to 5 strategic CEO priorities that will directly address that constraint and created your stop doing list to protect your time and energy for what matters most. And you built your 90-day CEO action plan that's going to track progress on your priorities and keep you accountable through those weekly check-ins. This is what it means to lead as a CEO, a confident early childhood operator, instead of drowning in a never-ending to-do list that keeps you busy but never moves your business forward. And this is exactly how you stop confusing motion with progress and start building the profitable, time-free business that you've envisioned. Okay, my friend, we've come to my favorite part of the episode, the manifestation minute. So I want you to close your eyes and I really want you to believe with all your heart. Now, if you're walking, which I tend to do often in my podcast episodes I listen to, or if you're driving, of course, please do not close your eyes. But imagine this. 3 months from now, it's Friday afternoon, and you're sitting at your desk. You're looking at your 90-day CEO action plan. Every single one of your strategic CEO priorities is marked green complete. Your enrollment is at 94% capacity because you focused on fixing your inquiry enrollment conversion instead of scattering your energy across a dozen marketing tactics. Your profit margin has improved by 3 percentage points because you raised your prices strategically instead of just hoping to find efficiency some days. Your to-do list has shrunk from 47 items to 12 because you ruthlessly eliminated everything that didn't support your priorities and you've delegated those you could to your team. And most importantly, you are working only 42 hours per week instead of 60 because you finally stopped reacting to every urgent task and started protecting your time for strategic work that actually builds your business. Take that in. that is where you can be. That is what's possible when you use the 90-day CEO action plan designed specifically for early childhood businesses. That's not just wishful thinking, my friend. This manifestation is what confident early childhood operators who've professionalized their planning systems do every single quarter. Now, here's your 3 action steps to take action this week. First, download the quarterly business audit checklist that accompanies today's episode. This tool is going to walk you through exactly what to evaluate each of the 6 business health areas and help you identify that constraint systematically. You can grab it at kellypeak.com, episode 166. Second, I want you to conduct your quarterly business audit. I want you to evaluate your business. I want you to be honest, really identify what your number 1 constraint is, what is holding you back. This is your strategic clarity starting point. And third, define just one strategic CEO priority you're going to focus on in the next 30 days. Don't try to build your entire 90-day plan this week if you're new to this and it's feeling overwhelming. Just pick one initiative that would move the needle on your biggest constraint and commit to it. Write it down, put it somewhere where you're going to see it daily and start taking action. Now, if you need a tool, you can find our complete planning system and our annual planning process. It is in our Time Freedom Blueprint at kellypeak.com. It's a complete workbook and complete training, 4 video training series around this entire process of how we do our strategic annual planning that includes not only your annual plan, but your 90-day CEO plan as well. Now, I've got some exciting news. We are launching our Profit Illuminator workshop. It's our Profit Reset. So we, in February, are going to do a live intensive experience. We're going to walk through building a complete 90-day CEO action plan. We're going to work on your profit plan. We call it your purposeful profit plan for the next 90 days. You're going to identify your strategic priorities. You're going to create your quarterly action plan in real time. So if you want some hands-on experience to support you as you implement everything, much of what we covered today, this workshop is designed exactly for that. We're going to be opening the registration for that. So keep an eye on your email to be able to sign up and register for this. Or you can head to kellypeak.com and keep an eye on there. But we will email you to let you know when it's open. Again, download the Profit Pathfinder to really help guide you through this process as well. The Profit Pathfinder is a great tool that's going to help you identify the red, yellow, and green areas of your business so that when you come to the Profit Reset, our Profit Illuminator workshop in February, you're going to already have an idea of what you need to work on. You can absolutely build a thriving, profitable program without working 60-hour weeks or drowning in endless tasks. And if today's episode gave you any clarity on how to stop drowning in that busy work and start focusing on strategic priorities that actually move your business forward, I'd love for you to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes as we continue to build our community of confident early childhood operators together who are rewriting the rules together. You've got this, my friend. I can't wait to see you next week. Take care, CEO.